have a Prospero Hall
Battle.
final.
Yep, a Prospero Hall final. Both Villainous and Horrified were made by Prospero Hall, not too distant from each other. I think about a year apart. They're both they. I when I tell people about one, I normally tell them about the other, just because every character you play in Villainous is different. Every monster you fight against in Horrified is different, and that I think that's a really great inspiration between the two.
The big difference between these two games really is one is you're trying to win by yourself. In Horrified, you're working together to win against the game.
Right.
And to me, Prospero Hall is probably becoming, other than say Stonemaier, one of the production companies that, or not production companies, but designer studios, I guess you could say, that when they say, "Hey, we got this new game coming out," I peek like, "Okay, what's this?"
Yes. Go on. You have me interested. Like that's why I bought Shining. And it's a fun little game.
You have Keeping It Sexy. We both played it. We enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
We just found it a little easy.
Yeah, it was what it was. It was making light of the chillness of that the Bob Ross game. You know, like that.
I haven't played that, but I've heard good things about it.
Oh, it's phenomenal. What Prospero Hall does with theme or any IP, I haven't played one yet that I don't like. I have played a Prospero Hall that I didn't enjoy as much. That was kind of like okay at best, and that was Ramen Fury, but that didn't have a theme on it. Well, I mean, technically it had the theme of ramen, but it wasn't like branded or IP.
I think this is the first time where we had an actual design company go against itself.
Yeah, that just goes to show how solid they are. So let's begin our finals for the debate. Disney Villainous, which seed?
6 seed.
6 seed and 2 votes in our user poll. And Horrified.
For the first time, if I can remember correctly, I don't have the brackets in front of me, but for the first time, the number 1, 2, or 3 seed did not make it to the final.
Yeah. What an upset, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Horrified, what seed was that?
Horrified was 4, and the Villainous was 6. So we have the 6 versus the 4.
Yep. And
the fact
2
that the 6 took
votes
out the
for
number
Villainous.
1 and the 4 took out the number 2 is amazing.
Yeah, that goes to say how close these all were. And Horrified, it had 8 votes from our user poll, where Villainous only had the 2. So kind of crowd favorite going into Horrified starting off. But let's break down each of these things. Matching theme.
This is to me one of the toughest breakdowns because both themes come out really, really well.
Right.
Especially since Villainous, you're playing as the villain.
Right.
So you're getting into the mindset of the villain. You're trying to do the things that you need to do to win. Again, in Horrified, you're the heroes trying to do the thing to beat the villains.
Right. So let's. I think personally, the matching theme goes to Villainous, and let me explain why. Horrified, it does have that strong theme. Each of the villains are solid to their theme, but you are all playing in the same village. You're all townsfolk of the village, that are using your skills to stop.
I know where you're going with this,
now,
but I'm about to make an argument against it.
That's fine. Well, it's because technically all 6 of these monsters, or 6 of these movie sequences, aren't part of the same town. They're not all in the same universe. Now, if it was like Arkham Horror, then yeah, they're in the same town. It's Arkham. But, like, all these horrors, all these things, like, I don't feel like I'm playing Dr. Frankenstein trying to stop my monster from going crazy. I don't feel like I am an investigator trying to prove that the I feel like the Invisible Man is causing crimes. I feel like it's similar, but I don't feel like it's the same as, like, I feel like I am Scar trying to take over the kingdom. I feel like I am Jafar trying to capture the genie with the white game lamp. That's just me, my personal opinion. I feel like more thematically wise, Villainous really does match the theme. Now, why they would be battling against each other, I figure that's probably your counter argument.
Exactly. Well, that's part two of my counter argument.
Okay.
One, they're fighting against each other.
Well, they're not. They're just trying to complete their goal before everybody else does.
They are fighting against each other because there's an ability for you to actually screw another player over with their characters, like putting Peter Pan in a certain area where they can't get to.
With their fate decks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So you're basically causing fate against the other player. That, to me, kind of loses its fill to the theme.
Sure.
And the reason, my main argument for the Horrified is, as someone who's watched these movies and own them and enjoy them and pay attention to them, and the reason why I feel like your argument, yes, they're not all in the same area, but the people and the characters that come up, those actors, a lot of the time are reused in these movies.
That's just because that's how actors worked in the early days.
The Frankenstein monster is also the Mummy in real life, played by, what's this guy's name? I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. And Bela Lugosi also...
He's Dracula, yeah.
Well, he's Dracula, but he's been in other of the Frankenstein movies.
But that doesn't... That's in our real universe. That doesn't mean in the matching the theme of the movies themselves in the story.
It still matches the theme when you're going, because this is the Universal Monster movies, so it is the universe of Universal Monsters, and that's why it comes out really well, because you're using the little girl that's in the Frankenstein is also a little girl in the the Wolfman.
Okay, but I'll give you that. Like, I mean, if they all take place in like villages, they're all like, you're all trying to work to stop the monsters from attacking and destroying the village. I get that, but it's just
the thing is, I'm playing as Pete, and then I'm like, oh, Hook over there. Here's Peter Pan. You can't get to him because you have a locked area you can't get to.
Right.
And honestly, to me, both themes come out really well, and then both themes lose themselves.
Okay.
That's why I call it a wash.
Okay. All right. We'll give it a wash, but yeah, that's fine. I will give you that. Meaningful choices.
Again, another one that's very difficult because, yeah, you're making your own personal meaningful choices, but you also got to make meaningful choices with people to make sure you get things done, especially when you're playing at the harder difficulties.
Yeah. Okay. Art and production. That's got to be a wash.
That's a wash.
Yeah, they're both solid.
I talked about it. The artwork's really good on both games.
Yep.
What I do like about Horrified is the artwork's completely black and white. So when you're drawing cards, there is a little bit of color, like the creature cards are blue, but like when you're filling up the villain cards or the actions that you're doing,
right? If it's Dracula, it's red. You know, like it's that one's really good. And then like everything that they did in that is really hammy. It's really good, but then villainous as well. Like, the art and production on that, those have to be a wash. Replayability.
Okay, here comes the big thing. I'm going to push replayability to the side real quick, because I know that's the one we're going to be arguing.
Okay.
Ease of play.
Horrified. Yeah. Horrified.
The reason by replayability is because...
You're all playing the same game in Horrified, but you have different objectives, whereas in Villainous, you're playing different games.
Yes, and I don't disagree with that. The replayability in Villainous is great, just because you can, if you have everything, you got 15 characters you can play. Just the base game gives you 6 characters.
Yeah.
But with replayability, Villainous, you're playing the same difficulty the same way every game.
Yep.
In Horrified, the replayability, okay, I played with 2. That was a little easy. Let me bump it up to 3, see how that goes. I played with 3. Let's bump it up one more time and play on 4. And the thing is, even when you play it on normal, that game ain't easy. When me, and Jim played it on here, we lost on normal mode.
Yeah.
I've beaten it once on the hardest difficulty.
Well,
once.
The easier it is doesn't mean that it's ease of play. It's easier to learn how to play Horrified when it boils down to it.
No. That's why we're going to the ease of play. I'm talking about replayability.
No,
you
but
can
replayability
make it where it's more difficult and make you have more choices in Horrified.
Right.
Where Villainous, the only replayability you get out of it is maybe playing a different character or trying a different strategy.
Sure.
So that one's hard for me. I will agree with you and give it to Villainous.
I think it does go to Villainous because let's break down possible permutations, right? If you're talking different characters, if you're playing the easy setting, there's 6 options, 2, 2, and 2, right?
Yeah.
Medium setting, there's two more options. And
Well,
then
see,
hard.
you're saying 2 and 2 and 2 if you don't want to use the same
Right,
characters.
right. But I'm saying like minimal, like in order to experience like medium with all the players, you have to play two
so
more.
that's
Yeah.
1,
So it's
2,
5 total.
3, 4, 5, and then with
And then that's
hard
2 more.
difficulty, it's 1. Well, 2.
Technically, yeah. So, but that's still
Kind
7.
of, but you're still going to get people you've seen before.
Right. 7 versus, 6 permutations of villainous, technically. But really, you're replaying the villains.
Yeah. So I'll give you that. So from what
Um,
I'm seeing here, it's a tie. And again,
And let's go down
tiebreaker
that.
goes to Horrified by people's choice because their votes were 8 to, what is it?
8 to 2.
8 to 2.
Yeah, people like Horrified a lot better. And so
And
that.
I don't disagree. As much as I love Villainous, to me, I would choose to play Horrified over Villainous.
Yeah. So we agree Horrified is the best IP game based on movie, TV, or radio. And that is a solid contender. It's so good in flavor. And that will be argued against the winner for next week. Let's talk about next week real quick. Do you already...
Before we talk about next week,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about some of the games that got votes but weren't in our argument because we
Oh,
haven't
sure.
played it. We
Yeah.
touched upon them, but we haven't.
Yeah, the ones that got votes from our poll. Go ahead and read those out. I don't have access to it right now.
First one, and actually had the second highest vote count. Firefly, of course, tied with Horrified, but didn't move on.
Right.
Star Wars Rebellion has 7 votes.
Star Wars Rebellion.
Everybody tells me this is Star Wars in the box.
Yep, and neither of us have played it, I believe.
No, we don't. I own it, just haven't got it off my shelf of shame, and I'm going to show it to you right now to prove I have it. I want to play it. It's there. Especially
I've seen it.
Because I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yep, I've seen it. I know you have it.
Just haven't got it to the table.
So
honestly.
that's definitely up there. What is the next one?
And the big thing about that is as much as I like Fantasy Flight games and Ameritrash games, I enjoy.
Sure.
They're a bear to learn.
They are.
Yeah, they have that rule book where they can teach you how to play, but they are a bear to learn.
Yep. All right.
Next one is Big Trouble in Little China, the game. I have not played it. I am familiar with the IP. I enjoy the movie, but I don't know anything about the game, really.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it either. So, I mean, it's another. Is it the board game or it's not Encounters, right?
It's not Encounters. It's the actual board game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it at all. So
again, Battlestar Galactica was another one that they mentioned.
Mhm.
Again, I'm familiar with the IP.
That
As
more or less
earlier,
created
I
the
love
hidden treasure
sci-fi.
or the hidden trader mechanism.
The Cylons,
Yep.
toasters. I am very familiar with Battlestar Galactica. I love the reboot TV show on Sci-Fi. I looked forward to watching it every week. My buddy lent me the DVDs when he had them late 2000s, early 2010s, and I binged watched all the seasons in one go. I haven't watched it since because of that, but I enjoy the show. Never played the board game. Big part of it too is the board game kind of went out of print when I started getting into board gaming.
Yeah.
All right, so another one that's on here is Marvel Champions. One that's a relatively new game. If I remember correctly, that's the LCG.
Yeah,
Marvel
from
game.
Fantasy Flight. Yeah.
I have not played that. I have played another skin of it, and from everything I hear about Marvel Champions, it's really good, especially if you like the Marvel theme. However, there's no campaign in it yet, and I prefer to play the Arkham Horror LCG because of that campaign.
Right. That makes sense.
And let's see here, we only have 2 more. Apparently there's a Coraline board game, and someone voted for that, and I'm like, okay, not familiar with that game at all, or I've seen the movie, and it's okay. My wife likes it. I'm
Right.
not a huge fan of it. I'm not a big Tim Burton guy myself. I think he's very overrated, so...
Ooh, controversial statement right here, made by Daniel. I'm indifferent.
To the fact, my actual Tim Burton movie I really like, and there's a few. I like Edward Scissorhands. I think that's a decent movie, and I love the original 2 Batman that were Tim Burton just because they were so out of nowhere. Batman and Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Is Sweeney Todd. I really enjoy Sweeney Todd. I think it's a really underrated movie of his. But Coraline.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
finally, the last one is another Star Wars game, Star Wars Imperial Assault. I'm familiar with the game. I've played it once. I enjoyed playing it when I played it.
Yeah.
It's basically, you're familiar, I don't know if you played the game, but you're familiar with Descent. It's basically
Oh, yeah, I
Star
played
Wars
Descent.
reskin of Descent.
Okay.
And so it's one versus all. It's not really a game that I don't own it. A friend of mine does.
Sure.
But one versus all games, I have a hard time really getting to the table.
Right. That makes
like
sense.
Those semi co-ops. I did enjoy it. The theme comes out of it like there's no tomorrow. I don't disagree with that. It's just one person's playing the Empire while the other people are playing the Rebel Alliance.
Sure.
And that's about it.
All right. Cool. Before we talk about next week and before we talk about what we're going to debate, I had an idea that I want to propose to you and see what your thoughts are.
Okay.
I think the following week after next week is going to be based on literature and books. I think we should continue our IP debates and have the following week be video games. And have the following week after that be either music or other IPs like video games or other examples of IPs. That'd be like the miscellaneous category. And then we take the top four, one from each of those, and debate those.
So say that again. I can't.
So the
I was
following
reading
week.
the chat.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Best Cake, hold on. I love your nostalgia beer. It totally reminds me of the. Anyway, so
I don't know. I think that's a reference to a movie. I just don't.
I don't know. Anyway,
So you were saying
yes,
debating it against what now?
I think the following week after next week of our IPs based on literature and books should be video game IP, because you have stuff like what's that one game that's made by the same guys who make Skyrim? Bethesda. Fallout. Fallout is a
I
solid
haven't played
game.
that one.
Well, I'm sure we can find ones that are based on video games.
I mean, we can look into it and we can explain if we're going to do it or not to the people next week. But it's something we're going to have to dig into because, again, I don't think I own one that's based off of video game IP. I haven't played it. It's on my shelf of shame.
Yeah, I think let's look into that. That might be something that we end up doing, or other IPs from like other video or other board games.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. Because if we do that, that's still only going to give us 3. And I guess we can still do the debate.
If we do
of
video
3.
games and the other miscellaneous separate, that'd be 4.
Okay, we can look into it.
Yeah.
We'll have to go basically on their overall ranking. But it's something to look into. Again, I don't know if I've played enough.
Sure. Okay. I don't know the reference personally. I should specify I don't watch movies. So if that is a movie reference, then I don't watch movies. So this was a difficult thing for me.
I want to say it's coming from Big Trouble in Little China, but it's been a while since I've watched that movie. I'm not gonna lie, it's been since I was a teenager last time I actually watched that movie.
Yeah.
So if it is coming from there,
yeah, by all means, clarify it for us. Cool. So then next week we're going to be talking about based on literature and books. What do we have as far as those go?
All right. So our number 1 seed is going to be Eldritch Horror. It actually was ranked higher than Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror, Arkham Horror is on our list because they do play a little differently once around the world.
Yeah, one's significantly different.
Arkham.
Sure.
So Eldritch Horror is number 1 seed. Number 8 seed is Dresden Files.
Okay.
Game of Thrones, the board game, at the 3 seed will be going up against Elder Sign. Again, I told you, spoiler alert, we're going to see a lot of H.P. Lovecraft because that's a very popular, not really theme, but people like to use it because it's in public domain.
Yep.
So Game of Thrones, the board game, versus Elder Sign. Number 4 seed, Arkham Horror versus number 5 seed, Sheriff of Nottingham.
All right.
And our number 2 seed, Lord of the Rings, Journey to the Middle Earth. Journey to the Middle Earth or whatever? Journey through Middle Earth.
Something like that.
Versus number 7, Unmatched.
All
The
right.
reason why this is in here, a lot of the characters are in Unmatched.
Yep. All 4 of the
Are
ones in
based-
the base set
Oh,
are.
yeah. So you have Alice in Wonderland, you have King Arthur in there, and it was high enough rank that we both played it, so we both agreed.
Yep. Journeys and Unmatched. All right. So we'll be posting the poll for that very shortly, probably on Wednesday. And we will be seeing you guys for next week's debate, next Friday's, for the top 8 debate on literature and book-based.
And join us on Wednesday for our next topic, which is games that need reprints.
Games that need reprints. And awesome. Do you want to send us out then?
Thank you once again for joining us. This has been the Everyday Board Games Podcast. You may reach us if you have want to add to the discussion but don't want to get on Facebook or can't make it to the chat. You can contact us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
Awesome.
You may find these videos later on at everydayboardgames2020 at youtube.com.
All right. And we use some of the Facebook groups online. We don't have one for our podcast yet, but we use Board Game Revolution as far as our polls. Phenomenal group. Join them if you like anything about board games, as well as a few other groups as well. Definitely get into the hobby. Hope this helped you find some of your new favorite games and helps you decide which ones, if you're looking for a specific thing, which one you're going for. And with that being said, I am Daniel.
And Daniel.
And you have a great day.
Don't stop the recording yet. Stop it now.